Elonias, is it okay for me to say we are living through a strange time? Because if you believe in the Bible or the Quran, by now you'll have learned a very simple axiomatic truth that there's nothing new under the sun. Well, I know that YouTube is just 20 years old or so, and Google is a recent technology, and the ability to even record yourself peacefully like this in your house with the right lighting is a luxury. And it has not always been the case. Whether there's something new under the sun or there's not, I can say for a fact that there's this new thing that is flowing that I've come to notice of, is that any man that has a simple brain and can articulate a couple of facts articulately, that is, without stuttering, will be considered either patriarchal or misogynist. Those two words, they are bogus and people throw them around. And I think the third word they throw around neatly is narcissistic. For patriarchal, what you are saying is that men are dominating the world. They have access to all the economic resources, financial resources, and women are nowhere to be found. And when they say you are misogynistic, you say you are belittling women for you say they are inable, they are incapable, they are this. And when you are narcissistic, politicians call each other narcissistic lately. That one, we don't even need to go there. But how and what do all of this have to do with marriage, or modern marriage versus traditional marriage? I think the conversation about modern marriage and traditional marriage centers around these three words, primarily. In the traditional marriage, we have the archetype for what a man should look like in the marriage and for what the woman should look like. There's a man that is the head of the family, there's a woman that is a subordinate. Traditional settings. Most people have come to argue that this is a social construct. It doesn't have anything to do with biology or evolution at best. I will argue that these scientists are born right after contraception. And we have come to a time where women can decide not to have babies at all. Where having sex doesn't mean you need to have baby. Where getting pregnant doesn't mean you need to have baby. It's the new reality, and we have to embrace that. But there used to be a time where that wasn't the case. And we shouldn't pretend it has always been the case. No. We should understand that men and women of golden age, of centuries ago, do not have a slight idea of how to properly ensure that their wife or their family is not overpopulated. So in most cases, within 3 years, within 2 years, the woman of the house will be having a baby. So a man has to take care of that woman in that 9 months of pregnancy. Also, he has to protect the woman and the child for almost another 3 years. So if you think about this, you understand how fundamentally the argument for men being stronger is not just a social construct. It's more like an evolutionary fact. So we build our society around these evolutionary facts. And the fact that even if this woman is not pregnant, there are still 5 days of the week where she will suffer cramps. Menstrual cycles. So we built our marriage premise on these realities, not knowing that we can salvage pregnancy. We can find a way to, there are cures, there are drugs for women to take so that a menstrual cycle will not be painful or for her not to get pregnant. So this becomes the modern narrative. And as such, we have the traditional marriage constituted on the old premise and the modern marriage that is consistent on the modern reality. So what are the major differences? And why do I think the modern marriage is a scam? I hope someone in the comment section will spot my prejudice. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to spot out is that the traditional marriage has the framework, the archetype. Who does what, when, and how. The modern marriage has flexibility, and I will credit them for that. You can always walk up to a girl, figure out how you guys are going to live together, the number of kids you are going to have, yada yada, etc. It's that. That's what the modern marriage promises. Flexibility. We can change the rule. We can change the formula. We can decide one thing today and choose another thing tomorrow. There is always that flexibility. The traditional settings has figured it out, quote unquote. The man is the head, the woman is the neck. Let everybody do their role. But that does not seem to work well in the modern world, right? The fact that they are dual income family. Women have to work now in order to sustain a family. It's no longer in every 3 years there's a 9 months of taking care of the child. It is no longer having to deal with baby for 3 years all by yourself. You can give it to nanny now. So the traditional template lacks a touch with modern reality. And the modern marriage has flexibility that doesn't keep the house grounded. This is the first major difference. The flexibility comes with its downside. There are no solid rules. We have to be shifting gear every now and then. And the traditional template, this is too rigid and it lacks touch with modern reality. The second major difference between the traditional marriage and the modern marriage is this idea that the traditional marriage is built on voluntary sacrifice, on commitment. The modern marriage is optimized for happiness. I am not arguing that modern marriage don't hope to sacrifice, don't believe that they are committed, but I'm saying the modern marriage seeks happiness at its foundation. The goal is for both couples to be happy. Okay. Which work best with reality? A relationship formed on voluntary sacrifice and commitment, or a relationship optimized for happiness? Recently, I saw a video on TikTok or maybe Instagram. I'm not sure which is it. It's a Reels. And the lady in the video made a statement that I come to agree with. In fact, I defended her position amongst my colleagues. She said, and I quote, "We didn't agree he's going to be broke." I think when I checked the comment section, people were like, "Oh, he just dodged a bullet. That's a bad woman." The opinion pool were more like that. They saw her as one evil creature that decided to abandon her husband in the face of trouble. Is that really the case? Honestly, is that really the case? Like I said earlier, the modern marriage is optimized for happiness. So when we are choosing to go into this partnership, into making kids and living together, what we both signed up for is for better, for better. I think even in modern vows, people are saying this in their modern marriages and wedding ceremonies that it's for better, but for better. They did not sign up for worse. And what that means is that if I'm not happy with where we are, then I can leave. I sign up for money and you no longer have that money, then what should I do? You don't have the money that I signed up for, then it's perfect for me to leave. It's a simple contract optimized for happiness. I sign up for beauty, you no longer have that beauty. Please let me go. Isn't that the bedrock of modern marriage? Isn't that what we are optimizing for? Happiness at all costs. I think we have seen enough of these narratives in the big screen. Women leaving their husband because he's not giving them enough attention, time and the kisses and the romances that they so crave. And then vice versa, the husband not satisfied with the fact that the wife cannot bear a child, or any of the other several reasons that a man can come up with. She's fat, she's not ugly, she's now dirty, she's stubborn. A man can come up with thousands of lifts if he wants to really come up with one. And I think a woman can come up with as much. He now has poor belly, he's no longer active in bed, he doesn't have finance, he can't buy me the kind of wigs or car or whatever I want. But why are we so shocked when that is the case of our marriages, when those marriages are breaking down? Why are we so shocked? I think if you optimize for happiness, you will know that we are not always happy, regardless of the state that we find ourselves. We are just not always happy. It's in our DNA. If you are the best programmer in time, you want to be the best programmer in the country. And if you made it to be the best programmer in the country, you want to be the best programmer in the continent. And then you look forward to be the best programmer in the world. And then you want to set a hallmark that other people will not be able to match. It's the human reality. It's in our nature. And when we set our institution to be built on happiness, then what do we really expect? 50% of marriages end up in divorce, 80% of marriages end up in divorce. We shouldn't expect anything less. But here is the thing. I'm not saying the sacrificial love and commitment of the traditional marriage works either. In the first place, there is something that is pushing people from traditional thinking to modern thinking. If something doesn't break, why will people want to fix it? The voluntary sacrificial mindset comes with its own downside. I've seen women that suffered unspeakable brutality under the disguise or the umbrella of, voluntary sacrifice and commitment. Men have taken advantage of that. Women have taken advantage of that over and over. When you have a serial cheat as a husband and he goes around sleeping with all the women in the world, but you have to stay, and you have this woman that is abusing you mentally, emotionally, draining you financially, making bad decisions. I once heard of a woman that contacted HIV and brought it home to her husband. And I don't know of the number of other stories of men that got syphilis from outside and brought it home to their wife. It's such in the traditional setting. The cases of women suffering from marital brutality in all sorts, especially from family members, not just from your husband, is of quantum level. So, what do I propose? I'm not proposing anything yet. Listen to my third point. Traditional marriage is family and community oriented. Modern marriage is individualistic. In the traditional settings, you don't get all of your support, all of your love, all of the money, all of the finance from your husband or your wife. The entire family, the entire community is involved in your marriage. They raise the kid with you. But in modern marriage, it's me and my husband. You don't have the right to brotherhood. You don't have the right to community. I think most of my brothers and uncles have wedded now and married now. Since they are married, I could barely have any form of connection with them. We can't talk about anything. They are focused on their family now. And such is the modern reality. We are too much in our own world. We are so isolated. And maybe that's why we are suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts. And the fact that we punch each other in the face and come on Instagram and smile at each other. And we are trying to impress each other on Instagram. And we are trying to lie about how wonderful my marriage is. I got the bone of my bone. It's such an amazing, until we hear about their divorce. How come you guys are having an amazing marriage and all of a sudden you are in divorce court? And it's not as if the traditional setting better off like that. I won't lie. Because honestly speaking, it's not all conversation we want to involve the family or we want to involve the community. And then lastly, before I bore you out, I think modern marriage lacks replicability. The fact that your mom and your dad work it out one way doesn't mean that you and your spouse, you and your boyfriend, or you and your fiancé will work it out that way. The fact that your mom and your dad had a conversation about finance and figure it out doesn't mean you and your spouse will use that same financial model. It's conversation all over again. You and your partner need to rewrite the template. You need to Not assume anything. Not pretend as if you know where he's coming from or you know where she's coming from. You guys need to talk about it afresh. How many kids you are going to have? Where are you going to live? How much is the household income? What kind of lifestyle do you guys want to have? Who will be financing what? All over again. I think that's one of the reasons why our dating process is so stressful lately. We have to talk about everything all over again. I think that's one of the reasons I find it hard to connect with new relationship lately. I just don't have the strength anymore to talk about, what I want, the kind of ebony kids I would like. All those is stressful, And then the traditional setting says, we have a template. All you have to do is to follow it. The only thing is that the template keeps breaking. It's replicable. You can force it on your own marriage. But we keep breaking. So, now, you are waiting for the solution. I don't have the solution. I sure don't. But one thing I would like us to know is that there's a reason why we had a template in the traditional marriage. They are good things in the traditional settings. And of course, our lefty approach, our far left approach to this conversation of resetting marriage, of labeling marriage as a scam, of thinking that all you want to be like is one guy calling himself Andrew Tate with a lot of women and there's a pimp, that all you think you want to be, I can tell you for free, it's not satisfying at all. Such life is not satisfying. There's just this amazing form of calm and peace that comes with having your own family, building and interacting with your community, not isolating your mother-in-law or not thinking that all of a sudden all mother-in-laws are witches. Remember, you have a mother too, and probably your mother has a son, and if one gets somewhere has same mentality that you have about that guy's mother, what do you think will happen? Some people are even praying that their mother-in-law is dead before they meet the guy. Oh, God. So I think what we need to do at this point is that we need to start having crucial conversations, rational dialogues about how to synthesize modern reality with the traditional template. How to pick what works in the traditional setting and find out what are the things we are arguing for in modern dialogue, right? Find a way to collapse those together. And I think one of the first things we need to do is to change our semantic. We can't call men patriarchy, misogynist, narcissistic, and expect that they will be ready to sit down and have the proper conversation that will lead to the progress that we want. We can't all of a sudden think all women are gold diggers and all they want is your money and all of that, and they are imbecile and they are incapable and this and they are fraud and all women are sluts. And we think we are going to have a proper conversation on how to move forward and raise the next generation. If we keep going like this, what we will have is this continuous fatherless children, overmothered children, underfathered kids. So I think it's time we start having the conversation about what is there in the traditional settings. So let me bring it home for you. Let me make it more simple, more relatable to you, the individual that is watching this video. I think the conversation is this. You are not going to win the dialogue of how you are going to work best with your partner. All the women in the world cannot be wrong. And all the men in the world cannot be misogynistic, narcissistic, and patriarchy. Or you call it patriarcha or something. Oh, man. Whatever it is you call it. What I'm saying is that you need to understand that when you are going into a conversation, it's not about what you want. It's not about what works for your parents. The template is changing. The model is changing. You need to sit down as couples, as boyfriends, as girlfriends, as fiancés, as husband and wives, and then rethink this conversation. As a wife, it is time to listen to your husband that the template has changed. As a husband, it is time to listen to your wife that the conversation has evolved. It is no longer what the Bible says. It's no longer, the Quran says this about marriage. No. Those old templates are gone. Women are making more money in many fields. The reality of dual income, family, it's not a myth. It's not an idea. It's something that is happening now. That means if you really want to be part of the future, by having kids, if you think there's any value in propagating human consciousness, then you should know it is time we have the conversation. It's time we let go of the template that we were brought up with. It is time we let go of our ego as the man of this relationship. It is time you let go of your idiosyncrasies, of your laziness, of thinking men should take care of me because I'm a princess. Of course, some men will want to take care of you because you're a princess. And don't forget, those kind of conversations has led to more divorces in recent history. Go to the courts. You will see enough of 1-year-old marriages that are filing for divorces. It's crazy. It's out there. So, it may look taxing, but what we really need to go back to is just having the conversation. How do we work this out? How do we synthesize the old with the new, the past with the present? And maybe we can get something solid. When we understand that both school of thought has something of merit to listen to. Both narrative are worth debating. Both conversation are worth having. I will see you in the next video.